market's not really reacting very positively to the jobs data. Wouldn't you have expected a more dramatic move?
The anticipation was that a rally of between 2 to 3% would be justified based on this data, but also bearing in mind from its lows, the Dow is up over 25% for this year from the March lows, and the S&P more or less the same. So the market has moved in anticipation, and one can expect that there will be further movements upwards going forward.
The US dollar, the strength that we're seeing on that front, again, I was asking our currency specialist, John Cairns, whether it was sustainable. In your view, are you relatively bullish on the US dollar now that we've seen these gains?
In the near term, those gains are sustainable, and I think they will continue. If you look at performance in US dollars of the Turkish, Brazilian and South African markets, you're looking at returns of 91% for Turkey in US dollar terms, 127% for Brazil, and in South Africa it's around 58%. So as a US dollar based fund manager, you'd be looking at those returns and saying, I don't get this every year. Let me start selling those emerging market currencies and buying dollars. So that should be supportive for the dollar in the near term.
Looking at gold at $1,135.80 an ounce was the low that it hit earlier today. It has since recovered from those levels a short while ago, trading at the $1,143 an ounce level. Is this the end of the gold rally? Some are saying that the bubble is about to burst where the yellow metal is concerned, or is this just a temporary breather? We did know that gold was in oversold territory, and to put it into perspective, it has only pulled back around about 7% over the last 2 days.
Yeah, it's pulled back around 7.5% from its highs, and it had to take a breather. I spoke to a lot of hedge fund traders last week, and they were saying to me, this thing is overbought, but when is it going to fall? Well, the answer happens to be Friday afternoon. And speaking to them, a lot of them were saying, should we just not take our profits? And I guess they've now seen what the answer is. Take your profits, walk away, and then reassess later.
Are you reassessing on the gold front? Do you expect it to recover these losses? Again, it is only 7.5% off its highs, so this is not a dramatic fall by any means.
We've seen greater volatility in the gold price over the period of a week, and that's been during this year. We saw gold rallying in March this year and then coming off as equity markets started to rally. So it comes as no real surprise that we've seen this fall, and one could expect it to fall further down to 11.10, 11.15 before starting to recover. In fact, the expectation is that gold will trade in a band until June, July next year.
Base metals have held their own, though. They haven't come down in line with the precious metals, and that's because of the hopes of an economic recovery.
In part, it's on the hopes of economic recovery. Also, a lot of corporates are now saying, we're expecting our customers to demand more of our goods, so let's start buying those base metals, because if the economy recovers, then the price of base metals go up.
While we're talking about base metals, now mining giants BHP Billiton and Rio Tinto have now signed a binding agreement, and that's on combining their iron ore operations in Western Australia. They've now submitted the deal to the European Union, and the agreement is expected to save as much as $10 billion, and it's to be completed by the second half of 2010. The deal is also being submitted to the Australian Competition Commission. BHP is down today. Obviously, that's on rand strength that is affecting it, and obviously the commodity prices are lower as well, so it's got a double whammy hitting it. BHP Billiton, as the diversified miner, the number one miner in the world in terms of size, where do you lie on this one?
I think we debated this 2 weeks ago.
Remind me of your position, Ashraf.
My position is Anglos.
Yes.
And I still prefer Anglos under these circumstances.
Even at these levels, we've got to ask you.
Levels,
I mean, it's run hard.
I'm comfortable holding Anglos relative to BHP. So if you ask me for a long short, I'd go long Anglo, short BHP.
The deal between Rio's and BHP Billiton, does that have no holding or bearing for you in terms of value going forward? I
just feel that's, the good news in BHP Billiton is discounted. With all the negative news flow around Anglos and the Xstrata bear hug, people just looked at it and said, we don't want to be in Anglos, so where else can they be but BHP? So BHP has been bought up during the course of this year.
Anglo American, where are you looking at this one going? It's currently at 317 Rand 91. It is down on the day for the reasons that I cited just a moment ago on BHP Billiton.
My price was 460 2 weeks ago, and I'll stick to that.
460 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
And over what time period are you looking for 460?
I expect it to get to 460 in June next year.
We've got Simon Brown from Standard Bank Online Share Trading. He's joining us now to enter this discussion on BHP, Anglo American. Simon, which side of the coin do you stand?
Look, I'm bullish on the resources short term and even medium term and going forward. I think the price that we've seen coming off today, nothing too exciting there. We can see where that came from. Looking forward to it, most people are picking Anglo. I've always preferred Billiton in that it's more diversified both geographically and for the products. 460 on Anglo middle of next year to me seems really exciting. I think the issue is, can they pull out a dividend out of the hat? If they can do that, then I think certainly the price got a lot more legs.
Can they pull the dividend out of the hat? Anglo American, of course, they disappointed the market when they pulled that dividend.
I think they will struggle initially, but it will be based on the expectation of that dividend that the price will move.
Let's move to the gold miners, and of course we haven't seen the gold miners reacting to the gold price. In fact, they're down significantly today, in line with the gold price coming lower. But what I'm trying to say is that they haven't rallied in line with the gold price when it was going higher. You're not a big bull on gold stocks, are you?
I like gold stocks, but South African gold mining companies have high operating costs, and with the stronger rand, the gearing effect doesn't come through to the mining operations, and therefore, despite the rally in the gold price in dollar terms, the stronger rand has held back the performance of our local gold miners.
And Simon, today, of course, we've got a lower gold price, as I said earlier, hitting that $1,135 an ounce, 80 cents level. And we've also got that rand holding its own against the US dollar at some 747. So again, the gold miners are getting a double hit.
Absolutely, Bronwyn. I mean, the pullback we saw from last week's all-time highs in dollar terms, and that's important, not in rand terms. We all knew it was going to come. I think many thought it was probably somewhat delayed, but it was very sharp, very vicious, and that obviously hurts them. But then the rand went from mid-730s to mid-740s, so you don't get that complete offset. And in truth, the gold miners are getting less per ounce of gold today, right now, in South Africa case, than they were this time last week. And that's been the story for gold miners pretty much this whole year. Gold price in dollars, all-time highs. Gold price in rands, 10 or 15% off all-time highs.
Is this a buying opportunity on gold stocks, in your opinion? Perhaps they're going to come down hard. I mean, we've got Goldfields today closing at the bottom of the top 40 at 106 Rand 38. It's down over 4%.
I think these gold prices will come lower as the gold price starts to steady. And on that basis, I would look for an opportunity to buy.